Welcome to the Chat with Chou podcast, hosted by Chou well-being and belonging consultant, best-selling author, and sought-after speaker. Join Chou as she connects with both new and familiar faces, showcasing their inspiring work in businesses. Together, we will explore insightful conversations, practical tips, and valuable resources aimed at fostering individual and collective growth, both personally and professionally. Let's embark on this journey towards greater well-being and belonging together. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Chat with Chou podcast, where I invite new and sometimes familiar faces to come and talk about what they do so that you can add more tools to your toolbox and help yourself, and we help you empower you to be well, do well, work well, and lead well. And today I have Leah with me. Leah, she's a seasoned psychotherapist, a Yale clinical instructor with a real pulse on burnout, imposter syndrome, and performance anxieties. And she's helped everyone from corporate leaders to educators and spent 2 decades helping people untangle perfectionism and set boundaries. So today we'll be talking all about that. Welcome, Leah. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Yeah, same here. So I'm curious. I'm in PA. That's where I'm based. Right now I'm recording this from Georgia. So I'm interested. Where are you joining from?
I'm not too far from you. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, awesome. And then I love those warmer states. Here right now, we're recording this in the beginning of November, and it's starting to get it quite chilly, especially where I live up in the mountains. It was 39 when I was leaving my house,
Woo.
and then I get, Atlanta, it's 62. I'm like, not fair, not fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's just dive right into the conversation here. And I always love hearing more about people's backstory, right? We all got to doing what we do because of often something that motivates us to get there, an experience, a story, a struggle, a challenge, something got us there. So I'm curious, what is your backstory? How'd you get to do what you do today?
Yes, that's a great question. So I think I've always been, even at a young age, very enamored with just
Mm,
people's stories
yeah.
and like how they got to where they are and how they're experiencing and processing things. And I just felt such a privilege when even a friend, like a childhood friend or someone in my class would share something with me. There was
Mm,
always this privilege of like, wow, we just connected. And I was able to create space for them. And, I think I was always drawn to that and that deeper sense of connection. And it led me, well, I watched my mother kind of go through her graduate studies as I was growing up to be a social
yeah.
worker and a clinician. And so I kind of got to see her go through a variety of internships and what she was learning, which really sparked my interest. And so I did. I ventured into psychology. I ventured into social work, because of not only, just the helping aspect and learning about people and humans and how we work and how we don't, but I think it also, there's so much variety in our
Mm,
field,
mhm,
right? We
mhm.
can we can do things very intimately, one-on-one work and therapeutically. We can do things in corporate with nonprofits. There was just, the sky's the limit when it comes to working and learning about human behavior and relationships. And so I think that was something that was always very appealing to put myself in hopefully different arenas, different spaces, different environments, and keep learning.
Mhm.
I also struggled myself with a lot of performance anxiety growing up as an athlete. And just in general, I have a very fierce inner critic and a lot of perfectionistic tendencies that I've had to work hard at. And so I think just even struggling with that, growing up, and especially on the basketball court and just off the court,
Mm,
really it led to a deeper compassion and longing to create space, and not just for athletes, but people that tend to operate with very high expectations, and lose sight sometimes of being present and giving grace to themselves.
yeah, yeah. Beautiful. I'm sure you made your mom proud and you know and I think for many of us it's sometimes we've been there and now we want to be the solution that we didn't have at that time, right? You know, like you say, with just dealing with some of the performance anxiety yourself. And as I was reading, I think it was in your website, I think it was website was LinkedIn, somewhere I saw that you describe yourself as a recovering perfectionist, right? And then that your background as a division athlete taught you about great performance and kind of battling that inner critic. So I'm curious to learn, like, in what ways did I guess perfectionism showed up for you personally? And then how did you begin to shift? Like, what was that turning point? You're like, "Who, this is what it is, and this, I don't want this, and this is what I'm going to do about it." Like, take us back to that time.
Yes, yes. I think it was, it was more so perfectionism with people and
Mm,
relationships.
mm,
And I worked so hard and still do to some degree. I've gotten better at it, more aware, but I wanted to kind of always stay in the good graces of everyone. I,
yeah.
I very much feared being labeled or associated or judged. It was something negative.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so you can see that that's kind of the perfect recipe sometimes for overextending, for sometimes being three steps ahead, with leading too much sometimes, with that
Mm-hmm.
empathy and compassion without giving yourself the same courtesy. And so I think I was always just in some regards on hyper alert, and used my emotional intelligence, but sometimes it did me dirty, right? Where I was just
Mm-hmm.
always kind of navigating everyone else's needs and what I could do to kind of stay in their good graces, to be accommodating. I'll endure. And, that generates a lot of angst, when you're kind of in that mode and you're serial fixing and you're
Mm-hmm.
accommodating. And so I really, I think also was trained, especially as an athlete, when I would start to experience anxiety. I had a lot of coaches and just people tell me, like, just don't worry about it, just play, just
Mm-hmm.
smile, just, work harder, just don't worry. And it really, as you can see, like that's it. We wish we could execute that, and it makes sense in the moment. But when you're out there trying to do something or perform, it's so hard to just not worry about it and to just play and to just like shove that part down. And so what really changed for me was this whole dynamic of, rather than shoving and trying to get rid of and suppress those parts of me that I didn't like, I learned to start kind of showing some appreciation for them. And the critical part of me, I have to acknowledge that that part of me has kept me, gosh, propelling forward and taking risks and, pushing myself. And sometimes that part of me comes in too strong and gives me almost 10 bodyguards when I need one. But I think it was more of a like, I need to work with this part of me and align with it and soothe it and help generate some self trust, rather than trying to get rid of it, distract myself, put band-aids over it. And I think that honestly was the biggest turning point.
Yeah. Wow. That's so beautiful. And I think so many times though in our culture of fixing, right? We tend to, because we're so uncomfortable with discomfort, I know that's redundant, but it's intentional. We try to avoid it at all costs. Instead of, doing what you did, kind of facing it, head on and then working through it, we start, doing everything and anything we can to not deal with it. So it's like, I'm going to avoid it. I'm going to shove it under the rug, as people often say, and pretend it's not there or fake it until I make it. And then as a result, we have no burnout. As a result, we have low self-esteem. As a result, all that people pleasing, what that mask itself sometimes under, perfectionism or, and all in the stress in general, right? Start to build up and impacting on mental health. And so I'm glad that you shed a light on that, especially and I want to kind of shift here to a little bit with the book. You mentioned the term serial fixer, and that's the title of your book. So tell us more about it. And I can see why you wrote the book, right? For your personal story to what the work that you do now. But what's the book all about, and what can people get from it?
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, I just started, not only in my clinical work, but when I would work, when I'd speak to groups or do workshops, and this could have been people in tech and
Mhm.
education. in, healthcare, I just started seeing this pattern, like this very pronounced pattern. We've been talking about burnout for several years now, and rightfully so, but
Mm,
we're kind of better, and I think beyond now, just the like, here are the symptoms, here are the quick band-aids, the quick fixes. And so serial fixer, I think, really goes deeper into the psychological level and kind of these internal conflicts that we have, and really what fuels that overextension, that burnout, that compassion fatigue. We
mm,
know logically we're supposed to say no and set boundaries and take care of ourselves, but it's really the execution of it. And
mhm,
so, I really want to take a deeper dive, or took a deeper dive into, these conflicts between different parts of us. The one part that's maybe that critical part of like, no, 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 you need to be 5 steps ahead. You need to solve this for your child. You need to always be available, because if you're not, then you're probably not a good mother. Then you're
mm,
probably not a good
mhm,
leader. Then you're probably not this. And these very rigid, strong associations that we have with being a good whatever it is keeps
mhm.
us overdoing it, keeps us 3 steps ahead, keeps us in fixer mode. And so, really, you think about serial fixing, and it really is, it's kind of inserting yourself prematurely in interactions, in
Mhm.
relationships where you hear something, you hear someone's distress, you hear someone's discomfort, and you lead with compassion, which is wonderful, but you immediately are like 5 steps ahead, and you're already trying to give them solutions, you're trying to fix, you're trying to relieve them. So ultimately, you can relieve yourself
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
confirm that you are a good leader, you are a good parent, you
Mhm.
are a good partner. And it's really, in a way, kind of this self-serving thing where you nailed it. It's like it's compassion disguised as control. And sometimes it's our
Mm.
discomfort in disguise. And it's actually ridding people of the opportunity to make peace and build self-confidence and get some of those repetitions in for them to, kind of keep moving forward in life.
Yeah, yeah. And I love how you describe that. Even as you're talking, I'm like, whoo, because then you realize just how stressful it is. Like in the moment when you're doing it, you're not realizing it, right? Like you said, like, I see someone discomfort and I'm trying to alleviate that, and I want to be, the helper, right? And that would doesn't sound, bad at all. But in trying to help and alleviate discomfort, sometimes, like you said, we become controlling without even intending to do so. But it's all this 5 step ahead in our mind. So like imagine you're entering every interaction where your mind is always overworking to figure out what I need to fix, how I need to fix it, when can I fix this? And you're not even you're not present. And you miss out so much more because of that, I believe. Because then people are one not able to connect with you, with the authentic you, and then you're not even able to observe what people are presenting because your mind is literally working overtime to figure out what you need to fix. And what a disservice we do to ourselves and to and to our relationships, to our community, to our interactions, to our businesses, even in parenting. How many
Yeah,
times, like you mentioned with new parents, and I just think about, I have three lovely children, but as a parent, when they come, you're like, okay, now I have to take care of this, and we miss that maybe they just need to process. They just need
right,
that listening ear. Right. And so,
right.
yeah. And so again, we do ourselves a disservice when we're always like 4 or 5 steps ahead of what's happening in the here and now. It's good to plan. It's good to know there's is a time and space for solving problems, but it needs to be done in a way that, and I believe in a way that we are embracing first who we are, and we're also allowing space for the person to be who they are. And
Mhm.
sometimes people don't even need help. I often say, I do a lot of work with people neurodivergent, people with disability. I often say that the people in general don't want to be fixed. People want to be supported. And there's
Mhm.
a big difference, right? So with the book, like I was saying, like I work with a lot of people, who whether it's leaders, entrepreneurs who often carry this heavy inner critics, right? And feel like they must do it all and we're near perfect standards that are not even realistic, And so I'm curious, and this maybe it's in the book, maybe it's not in the book, something just from your own experience of supporting similar individuals. What are maybe 2 or 3 practical steps you recommend for someone who's entrenched in trying to be a perfectionist and helping them to start losing the hold of that inner critic?
Yes. And I do. I go in depth with that very topic in the book, because it's so important. And I do think, a lot of what I walk through is kind of the whole reframe, and kind of really practicing and getting your own repetitions in with thinking like, how do I support, don't solve? How do I
Mm.
still show up and care? It's not about caring less, it's about caring differently. And it's, again, I think the first step out of the gate is when you are talking with someone that you are supporting or leading, or you're parenting or caregiving, like, when they are sharing something and their emotional hurdle,
Mm,
it's out of the gate catching yourself. It's almost like you're at a crossroads. And when you immediately go into giving advice, prematurely relating, giving them step by step, you're going that way. We want you to go this way. And so, in order to turn the other way, it's about first starting with validation. It's about first saying, like, this is collaborative. They are going to keep ownership of what they are feeling, even if it's really hard for them and really hard for me to see. But my job here is to validate and let them know that I am working hard to try to decode the message that they are communicating to me verbally and non-verbally. And
mm,
that's, with a simple like head nod. That's with a like, no, you have had a really tough week. Or that's with a, paraphrasing. That's with just like that right there is I think the main step where when we start to validate and show that person like we're collaborating with you. We're not jumping into fix and solve and soothe that we can check a box and move on.
yeah.
That's where connection happens. And that's where that person feels heard, and they're able to start processing, getting some of the repetitions and building those intrinsic muscles to start working through what's going on with you there as a support and creating space.
Mm. Beautiful. Wow, I can talk to you all day long. Definitely. I love it. And we think so much alike, so like you, I also, do work both in clinical setting and organizations, helping people build resilience and wellness in centered cultures. And so from your perspective, I want to hear how does culture or perfectionism shows up in the workplace, and what can leaders do to kind of shift our culture towards healthy boundaries, sustainable performance, and definitely self-compassion.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm sure you see this all the time too, where, there's this cultural component that's interwoven, and it's urgency, right? It
Mm,
seems like
mm,
everything is urgent. And we kind of are cramming every crack and crevice or transition to another meeting, or, transition from one focus, like focusing on something to another. We're cluttering that with ways that we're being productive, ways that we're consuming, always checking this. And we are forgetting to take the dozens of transitions from one physical location to the next, from one role to the next, from one meeting ending to the next, to just debrief ourselves, to
yeah.
just have that moment of like, let me pause, let me
Mm,
capitalize on this
mm,
transition as a moment, like a micro reset, as a
yeah.
way that I can practice being just present, even if it's for, 10 seconds while I walk to the restroom. And I
Mhm,
think that that's the biggest thing, where people are looking constantly at who's leading them and seeing how they respond, when they respond, how they're taking care of themselves, when they say no, their urgency, their tone, their pace. And that, it's not that you as a leader have to be perfect. That's not the goal. But
mhm,
taking some ownership sometimes and being mindful of, are you actually practicing presence? Are you serial fixing? Are you
mhm,
stepping in
mhm,
and not empowering your team and demonstrate that, like, in order to grow, you have to take risks, you have to stumble, and you need to execute and collaborate. And that starts with leadership. So it is starting to, it is really, coming to grips with like that inner critic in you, and where it's pushing you too hard and it's counterproductive. And you're losing the momentum and probably the ability to access your strengths as a leader to communicate and listen.
yeah, beautifully said. Yes, leaders often say set the tone for what well-being can be in that workplace. And definitely it's not about being perfect because nobody is. But being authentic, being vulnerable is actually a strength, especially in leadership.
Mhm.
Yeah, so speaking of kind of being vulnerable here, I want to shift gears, maybe not totally, but it still aligns with what we're talking here. And I wanted to hear from your own, from you talk a lot about embracing failure as growth in the part of your work. That was when I was doing my research here. And I was wondering if you don't mind sharing even a personal story of how you embrace failure as growth and how it made perhaps it unlocked a major shift, with in regard to relationship with perfectionism.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm trying to think of a specific example, but as one is kind of hopefully brewing up there, I'm
Yeah, and
more
even
so,
with maybe
yeah.
even work if it's not your personal story per se, even maybe an example of someone you worked with, where you saw that happen. That's totally
Yes,
fine.
yes. That might, I think really the biggest thing, because I'm thinking of different people, I'm thinking of
Mhm.
myself. I think the biggest shift is again another reframe where I
Mm,
think when you're stuck in like that perfectionistic filter, if you will, you are thinking like black or white, all or nothing. And so I've really tried to train myself and really, kind of encourage people that I work with
mm,
to find the gray.
yeah.
When we think about, everything's black, everything's white, everything's all, everything's nothing. It's like it's rigid. It's all or nothing. It's very
Mm,
rigid, and that's perfectionistic. Like that's where it thrives. And
yeah.
so really just like where can you find the gray? Where can you find the
Mm,
middle ground? How can you switch up how you're defining failure and success? And is it actually, achievable? Have you even defined that for yourself? And I think I got trapped in that where I was like, I just want to be successful. I just
mm,
don't want to fail. But that it was so abstract and so all or nothing. And so I was caught without even really defining. And I was caught too without celebrating, taking a moment to celebrate and internally validate when I did do something that took a lot of effort. It was uncomfortable, and I
yeah.
would just kind of zoom right by it. And I was so critical of myself, but I wasn't playing fair. And actually, then,
Mm,
like, Leah, that was a lot. Like, you did that and you didn't execute it perfectly. You didn't do everything gracefully because you're not supposed to, but you got through it and you got some really good reps under your belt.
yes.
And so I think finding that gray zone for me has been really a big motto that I've tried to not only share, but really try to live by.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I so agree. 100%. So I agree. And there's so much shifting that happens, growth that happens when we take that time to, give yourself self-compassion, because that's what it comes down to, right? It might have not been perfect, might have been what I expected. Did I get through it? I didn't give up. What did I learn through that? Who was I able to connect with? Which new tools do I have for the next time I encounter something like this? You know? Yeah, beautiful. So looking ahead, I'm thinking about here, people who are listening, people that I support, who are connected to me and this platform. Um, if someone who's listening here realizes, okay, I've been stuck in this fixer mode, right, or being a perfectionist for so many years, what does freedom from that look like in everyday life? Like, what does life beyond perfectionism, if you want, feel like? How do you encourage someone to even trust himself enough to take that leap of faith per se, and step into that next chapter?
Yes, and it is. It's just like anything else, you have to get practice, you have to get repetitions, your
Mhm.
reps under your belt. And it's just like if you're getting in physical shape, you have to work at that. You have to be
Yeah.
consistent. You
Yes.
you have to build that mind body connection. And the
Mhm.
same thing, as you know, goes with our mental and emotional health. Like we have to take time to collect our own data. We
Yeah.
have to take time to have check-ins with ourselves. And I think that that's, again, don't fall into the trap of, okay, I'm listening to this, I'm going to break free from perfectionism tomorrow, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm never going to feel this again. It's like, oh, okay, let's take some baby steps, let's collect data, let's work on building muscle internally with some of these reframes. And it really does start with, like, I'm just going to start noticing when I'm
Mhm.
talking with someone. I'm immediately relating, giving advice, telling them step by step what to do. And probably unbeknownst to me, I'm creating these micro codependencies. People know that they can come to me and dump all this clutter in front of me, and I will work really hard to try to structure and fix and solve. But we know as well, you know as well as I do, like you may have the best advice in the world, and you may feel like you're having the same conversation with a friend or a
Yes.
colleague week after week, and it's frustrating
Yes.
because they're not executing and they seem like they're aligned with you and
Exactly.
they don't do it. And it's just like that right there is a good indicator that you're serial fixing. They don't have
Mm.
ownership, they don't have their own flavor to it.
Right,
And
right.
so pull back and ask the questions and meet them where they're at. And
Yes.
that's huge. And that can change and empower as you are creating some space for yourself too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, this was just beautiful. I'm so grateful that you and I connected. I'm so grateful that we could have this conversation here today. But it doesn't stop here. For anybody listening, watching, it doesn't stop here. Leah has this book out, so we're gonna give her a chance here, Leah, to tell us where can people find the book? How can they stay connected, connected to you?
Oh, well, thank you. My book is called Serial Fixer, and it's Break Free from the Habit of Solving Other People's Problems.
Mm.
And it is on sale now. It releases November 11th. So it's on sale. You can get it pretty much anywhere you buy books, if Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Target, Bookshop. And I would love to hear from you if you do buy it and you read it. And if it resonates, like, and you're like, "Ooh, yes, I'm serial fixing." You're not alone. And I have a Substack where I'm talking about different types of serial fixers, and people will write
Mm.
into me and share their stories. And of course, I'm keeping it confidential, but I think I want to start just a community and a conversation around this. So that's another option. And you can find me on social media. LeahMarone.com is my website. And I'd love to connect.
Yeah, thank you again. Thank you. And everyone, again, please follow, go grab the book and, follow her, stay connected to her. Even the little bit I was able to gather, even just to preparing for this conversation, I'm like, whoo, this is someone I want to stay connected to for a long
Oh,
time. So, definitely be, following you on LinkedIn there, and we can continue to collaborate, any way that we can. Thank you again, Leah, for not just being here, but for the work that you do to make this world a better place.
oh,
Appreciate
you
you.
as well. Thank you for creating space today.
Yeah, thank you. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You probably heard this before. Sharing is caring. And we probably, all of us, if we're not a serial fixer ourselves or been one in the past, we definitely know one, in our lives, right? Whether it's at home or work in the community. So share this conversation with them and help them too to be well, do well, work well, and lead well. See you next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Chat with Chou podcast. We hope today's episode inspired and informed you on your journey towards growth. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Follow Chou Allegra on social media to stay updated on upcoming episodes and more resources. Until next time, take care and keep striving for well-being and belonging in all areas of your life.